Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, Dustin and I will take a look at a comparison review of the two most recently discontinued Highland Park 25s, the 48.1% version and then the 45.7. Dustin, whiskey we know well.
Yes.
You know, we have had multiple versions of these 25-year-olds, whiskey that we've always liked. But you know, kind of want to show people a comparison of what the 48.1, the richer version, the higher ABV version was as compared to this one. Now, do note that the new 25 comes in at a different ABV. I believe it's what, 44 or something now?
46 even.
46 even. So you got a nice little uptick on that recently. And they used to be cask strength back in the day, but you know, the ones that I kind of grew up with, or the ones that I've had for the last 10 years, it's always been one of these two bottles right here. So, you know, I want to tell you how much different the 48.1 is from the 45.7. Again, like with any of these Versus series, what we'll do is we have the older version right over here with me, so that will be represented on our right, on your left, and Dustin will have the 45.7 version represented on his left, your right. So, old 45 or 48.1, 45.7.
Yep.
So Dustin, quick little look at both of these. The color's actually very, very close.
I was not expecting that, Mike, just kind of based on having had these whiskeys quite a few times.
Yeah.
They're almost dead on. I think the 48 might be.
Slightly.
But I mean, it's
a lot closer than I assumed
hairs.
it would be.
Yeah, it's splitting hairs at that point.
Yeah, very, very, very close. So as far as the nose, Dustin, let's start out with the 45.7 since that's a little bit less as far as an ABV.
Yeah. I always get kind of like a grapiness to this one. It's definitely sherry casks forward. There's a lot of first fill sherry. I think they say it's one of their the most first fill sherry they use on a whiskey or something along those lines.
Yeah, the 25 was always had the most first fill sherry of any age statement whiskeys. Yeah. They continued to use more up until they got to the 30, and I believe the 30 is all second fill, but the 25s are up to 50% first fill sherry.
Boy, let me tell you, there's a lot of oak. I mean, if you told me this was a 30-something-year-old, I would believe you in a heartbeat, because I am just smelling. It's like grape, cough syrup, and oak. In a very pleasant way, I should say. And a little bit of salt, a little bit of peat, a little bit of sea breeze.
You know, aside from all those things that you mentioned, I always refer to this one as white chocolate.
You do say that. That is not a character I'm picking up right now.
You know, I don't get a ton of it right now with this 45.7 because obviously you've had that open a little while, had a chance to oxidize. It's sort of a neck pour, top of the bottle type note.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is good year and a half plus open.
Yeah, but it did. Yeah, that note simmered down, but it's still there. But you're right, a lot of oak in this 25.
And now I'm starting to pick up the raisins, a little bit of alcohol and plum.
Definitely plums. All right, let's take a look at 48.1. Because again, with any of the Versus series, this isn't a full-blown review. It's just, comparing the two whiskeys. And the end game is if someone's picking up the tab for you at the bar, and they offered you one of these two free of charge, which one would it be?
Absolutely.
So it's all about the enjoyment, I guess, is what we're trying to say here.
Yeah,
it's all about.
So right away, I get a little bit of a. I wouldn't have picked this up otherwise, but it's like a chocolate-covered raisin. It's a little fruitier, a little more bitter, but yet not as oaky.
You're right. There is more sherry cask influence in this 48.1, in my opinion, but it does come off slightly more bitter. You're right. It's definitely richer though. It's a richer smell.
It's not as sweet. It's not as candied. It's much more bitter sherry. I'm not actually picking up as much of the saltiness, the sea breeze. The sherry really is overpowering everything else.
Yeah, I always preferred the 48.1. You know, when you had them individually, I thought this is such a richer of a whiskey. But kind of having them back to back like this, it's just, you tend to pick up more of the nuances in the 45.7.
Yeah, although actually now going back to 45.7, it seems to have lost a little bit. And now it's coming back. There's a little bit more on the 48, but it's not. It's a little richer, a little bolder, but it's not better. I actually think I find the 45.7. I think that one's got a little bit more going on, just for me.
Yeah, it's almost where the ABV. Typically I like a higher ABV whiskey in general. And you can still bring it down with a little bit of water. But yeah, right out of the bottle, almost seems like they kind of figured it out and sort of fine-tuned it by making a few extra bucks with more water.
Yeah.
It's justified, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Or, it's legitimately possible they just thought it was better there.
Yeah, well, for sure. Again, I always think when they add water, it has something to do with making money.
Yeah.
But as you said, the new 25-year-old got a nice little uptick to 46% ABV. So I think I've kind of fine-tuned it right in where it's at a really good ABV.
Yeah, I doubt they were thinking, nope, it's got to be 45.7 versus 46, so that'll save us this amount of money on this limited release, small production product. I don't know how big the production on these was, but I can't imagine there's 50,000 bottles, you know?
You wouldn't think so, no. Yeah, so you're right. The gains would be minimal.
Yeah.
But you never know. Edrington could say, look, we had a bad year. We need this. We need that.
Yeah.
If you want better cash, this is what has to be done.
Hey, you know what I do for a living? I've played the numbers with the spreadsheets.
Yeah, so somebody with a spreadsheet came in and said, you know what, we need to bring down this ABV. This is the reason why we do this. Everyone gets a Christmas bonus.
Hey, Christmas bonuses matter.
They do. All right, I'm going to give the taste on this one. Then we're going to go with the 45.7 first. Dustin, what are you picking up on this bad boy?
Very vanilla forward. Up front, a lot of oak. Getting some kind of like savory, uncooked dough. The sherry's in there for sure.
Yep.
The peat's definitely got a little bit of note there.
Some honey.
Some saltiness. Yeah, I mean, you get all of everything you think of Highland Park. And it's very traditional on-profile Highland Park here.
I agree. It'd be beautiful whiskey. I mean, this is the reason why I fell in love with this distillery. 18 was always a good whiskey, but I remember the first time I had this 25, I was like, oh man.
Yeah, I've heard many people over the years, their first Highland Park that wowed them, where they go, oh, it's either the 21 from back in the day.
For sure.
Or it's the 25.
And the 21...
The 18's always been one of those that the people are like, oh, okay, I mean, it's decent, yeah.
Again, it's a good everyday, every man's sort of whiskey. And again, it always something that I've sold you before. If I was getting someone into Scotch whiskey, I'd say, the 18 was a pretty good example of any Scotch whiskey in general, not only from Highland Park, but, to truly fall in love with the distillery. You're right, 25, 21, 30, those are the great ones from this distillery.
Yeah.
And, I had the 25 before I had the 21. Because the 21 was always, if I'm not mistaken, always 700 ml. I don't know if they ever got over the night here in the U.S. where you got a 750 ml bottle. I could be wrong.
Unless there was a Canadian release.
I'm
not aware of the
sure
US.
I'm pretty sure they were all 700 ml or 70 CL.
Could be.
All right, anyway, let's move along to this 48.1.
48 is just a straight sherry bomb. I mean, it's a sherry bomb. I mean, I'm not getting nothing on here but sherry. I mean, it's overpowering the spirit. You've always talked about these 25s and Highland Park in general being a very balanced whiskey.
Less balanced.
This is not a balanced whiskey. This is sherry forward. Now, beautiful sherry casks. Beautiful berries, and there is some earthiness that's in there. There is some peaty elements. I mean, it's there, but it's all just, it's kind of like, it's a finish to the sherry.
Yeah, this one is far bolder, and you're right. It's far more one-dimensional. Than the 45.7, which, I guess I really wasn't expecting. Balance, I wouldn't say it's balanced, but I think it's beautiful Highland Park. It almost reminds me of a couple of those Caden heads we had. Remember the 28 and the 26? Sometimes overly sherried Highland Park is still fantastic Highland Park.
I love overly sherried Highland Park. Let's not get crazy here.
No, we're just talking about Highland Park's known for balance. The 45.7 is far more balanced than this 48.1.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked a little bit there, Mike. I was really not expecting that much of a difference.
Oh, no, it's...
Or that the sherry be that dominant, because we've had this
many times.
Comparatively. I mean, I was like, all I'm tasting is sherry. What just happened?
Well, that's the beauty of comparing them back to back. You get the real differences in the whiskey. I've had this open for a while too, so this one's worked down quite a bit. It's not as this didn't have time to oxidize.
Yeah.
I've had this bottle open almost 2 years. I mean, I've had it for a long time.
Wow. Okay. This Highland Park, the first Highland Park 25 that we did, the 45. Man, it has opened up. It has gotten more desserty, more sweet.
It definitely has.
The complexity's coming up too. I mean, but it's like it's all playing together. It was before I kind of picked up, oh, here's some vanilla, here's some oak, here's a little bit of salt, here's that honey. Now it's just all kind of melded together in this, like a pastry, dessert, chef's specialty.
Comes together so well.
Man.
You almost think maybe they should have bottled it lower. I think at 44 or 43%. I know, I'm going to kill
it. On the nose at least.
Yeah, on the nose.
I don't know about the palate, but man, wow.
Yeah, no, that actually, the water actually improved the nose a little bit.
Yeah.
You're right, it took different parts and just melded them together. You said it well.
Yeah.
41?
It's changed the way the sherry's hitting me. It's hitting me more of like a recharred cask now than before, where it was more of a first fill cask, but still a sherry bomb. getting a little more of the oak, and it's definitely coming off as a European oak with a little bit of spiciness to it.
I agree with that.
It's very nice, very rich, dark sherry bomb.
Yeah, the bitterness is toned down a little bit with water, which is to be expected.
Yeah.
Now I did get a little bit of that white chocolate on the palate when I had the last sip of the 48-1, so it's still kind of lingering there. And it's a couple drops of water. I tend to recognize that a little bit more.
Yeah. This is definitely this is like brown sugar and
Molasses almost.
molasses. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's really nice. I don't think it's better or worse than before water. I think it's about the same, but maybe a little more complex, although it did drop that chocolate note I was liking before.
But again, like I mentioned before, along with that chocolate note diminishing, the bitter also diminished with that one. Was a little bit well too. I don't know. I feel like I can smell a little bit more.
I kind of like the bitter on the note before. I think that kind of enhanced it a little bit.
I feel like I get more of the Highland Park distiller characteristic.
I think you're right. I do think the Highland Park comes out more. But I like sherry bombs, so.
You're right. All right, so take a last little sip of the 45.7 and then the 48.1. Give our final thoughts and which one we would choose if somebody was picking up the tab. Which they rarely are these days because we can't even go to bars. And like you can't sit next to somebody at a bar now. It's weird times.
Yeah, how are you going to win a sports bet with the guy next to you by betting on the last year that King Griffey Jr. and Ichiro never played together,
Right. Crazy talk. That's a good one, Ichiro and King Griffey Jr. Yeah, and they never really played together. He was a steal, Ichiro.
I want a beer off that once. This guy's emphatic. I know they played. I'm like, come on, man.
No, that's what when they lost him to free agency. That's what they did instead. Was they signed Ichiro from overseas to kind of quell the fan base. I tell you what, that dude was arguably the greatest leadoff hitter I've ever seen.
I mean, now he's one of the great fielders too.
Oh yeah, I mean he was a fantastic overall player.
Yeah.
Ichiro we're talking about. I'm excited for baseball.
Could have walked a few more times. I think that's the one knock on him is he definitely swung every time.
Dude, if you're not going to get routinely 200 hits in a season if you don't swing that bat, man. There was no more better bat to ball contact hitter ever.
But the goal is to get on base. It's not to doesn't matter if you hit it or you walked.
Dude, his on base percentages were almost 400 some years, weren't they?
Well, he was hitting 400, so I hope so.
Yeah, you would hope so. I'm saying whenever you got it done, man, he got it done.
Yeah, I just want to say it could have been better. Anyway, so I think the water has actually enhanced this one as well. I'm actually getting a richer, more complex whiskey. The oak tone went down, the sweetness went up. I'm getting more sherry casks. This thing just went from. For Mike, from now on, I'm adding water every time I drink this.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a fickle mistress, Highland Park 25. I usually like to have it, just neat.
Yeah.
But if you're careful with the water, man, it can be rewarding.
Yeah, and you can definitely overwater this so easily. But yeah, right now, it tastes better that way. It's moved up 1.5 points in my book with water between the nose and the taste. I mean, substantial improvements, and I'm quite pleased.
That 48.1 though. Even with water, you can tell how much more viscous it is in the 45.7. Now, with a higher ABV, I would expect that to be the case. And for kind of whatever the more oak dominant notes and the more sherry dominant notes, it kind of lasts on the palate, it's just a better experience, period. What do you think?
It is richer.
Way richer.
I'm now actually getting a little bit of oak bitter on the end here that I'm not liking as much. The water did not improve this one. It was better without water. With water,
I agree.
It's bringing out, it's kind of gotten a little watery, and it's brought out a lot of oak notes that weren't needed because they don't go with this intense sherry.
Yeah.
And I'm still not getting. I'm getting a little bit of kind of like a breaded pastry, kind of barley type of note here, which is telling me the distillate's coming in more. But this is a whiskey where they picked the best casks they had, the best first fill casks, and really the casks need to be the showcase. The distillate needs to be an enhancer. It needs to add character to those casks.
Do you think that's what it did here?
I think that's the way it was to start with. I think once we added water, it's given us more of the distillate. And the distillate, while it's good distillate, isn't playing as well with the sherry casks. It's my gut feeling.
Yeah, I mean, again, these bottlings are a difference of, say, about 10 years. I think this one I looked it up one time, this is like 07, 08 bottling, or I want to say.
These were like 15.
15 or so. So, yeah. I mean, that's a big difference as far as, the type of wood you're able to get in a given year. So there's a good separation between the two. So, Dustin, we've come to it, man. Someone's picking up the tab, probably me. Which one are you picking?
Yeah, this is closer than I thought, Mike. I was actually ready to just tell you it's the 48.1 and don't even waste your time with this one. With the water, this one came out so much better. I'm going to take this 48.1, but I tell you what, with water. Both with water. I'll take the 45.7.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. So, I mean, my choice would be the 48.1 as well. I like the mouthfeel better with the 48.1. And I too enjoy a big sherry bomb whiskey with a little bit of peat, a little bit of, heather honey and a couple of other things. So I prefer that too, but the 45.7 really surprised me how well it performed comparatively. And with water, you're right. It's almost a better nosing whiskey with water, but neat. I would take the nose, I take the palate, I take the mouthfeel of the 48.1 in any of those scenarios. And here's the thing, I don't have to add water.
Exactly.
So if someone's picking up the tab at the bar, I'd rather start with this and then play with it as needed.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, very close. I was surprised.
Yeah.
I truly came in here ready to just tell you guys this one wins. It's going to win in a landslide.
No, it was quite a surprise because we didn't do this ahead of time.
Nope.
It was just an idea that we'd had, and we've never had these whiskeys, back to back or even in the same day. So, sometimes whiskeys hit you different, but when you have them the same day and right back to back, it's as even of a playing field as you could hope for.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are our thoughts. We both would take the old 48.1 if someone who was picking up the tab at the bar. Probably doesn't come as a huge surprise to you, but a bigger surprise, or the biggest surprise, is really how close they are.
Yeah.
This is very much reminiscent of the last one we did, the Lafroig 18 versus the Lord. I'm shocked how well the newer version that doesn't have quite as much ABV, or in the Lafroig's case, quite as much of an age statement, how well they performed.
Yeah. It's shocking.
It's almost like those guys know what they're doing.
Highland Park.
Good
have
job.
me now once again debating buying that 46%er.
Anyway, until next time, we want to thank you for once again joining for another whiskey review. And Dustin, what do you wish the folks?
Happy drinking.
See you next time.